Amazon, everyone sees that when they see a product, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the person that the company that pops up first, not when you say who else is selling this, is who owns that's called the buy box.
Yep.
So when a retailer discounts and they're selling also through Amazon, or basically is because there's a cheaper price out there, Amazon will just take down your you won't have the buy box anymore because you're not the cheapest price, because they found through their searching online that a retailer is that retailing you're selling to is undercutting you. So they'll take you out of the buy box.
Yep.
And then your promotions, your marketing won't work. So again,
minimum price thresholds.
Therefore, don't let the tail wag the dog. Understand the foundation of your business. Build your business and your logic and your profit around your business model. And regardless of if your stakeholders are telling you something, you listen, because you might be missing something.
Yeah.
But don't abandon your business model.
Welcome to Big Business Mistakes, hosted by Brandon and Kaylin Poulin. Here, the most successful entrepreneurs tell jaw-dropping stories and lessons behind their biggest business mistakes so that you don't make them. Ditch the fake highlight reel and get the raw truths and golden lessons of what it actually takes to scale your business from those who have done it. This is Big Business Mistakes.
What's going on, guys? We're here at the Big Business Mistakes Show. Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Brandon Poulin. Kaylin Poulin is not joining us today, so you got me. And we're here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tom Shipley. Welcome, man.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Love it, man. We're here in person at my house.
I know, this is great.
In the studio. I love it. I'm excited,
Hill
man.
Country, which I love.
Oh, dude, Austin is ridiculous. We're here in Austin, guys. So digging into this, guys, I got to tell you who this guy is. So if you guys don't know, I had to get your bio up because I'm like, there's things I got to touch on, man. You were Israel's Defense Forces, right? Military man.
IDF, yep.
IDF, Special Forces. Guys, Tom is an incredible entrepreneur, guys. One of his beauty brands has sold over 2 billion. 2 billion. I didn't know it was 2 billion. Yeah. Dang. Through direct-to-consumer marketing and retail, Tom has raised $100 million from private equity to launch the Amazon and e-commerce aggregator Foundry brands. So that's one of the things that you've done. So you've raised a lot of money. You've sold a lot of product, right? Direct-to-consumer. And recently co-founded an advertising agency aggregator called AVA. And you are rolling up 20 agencies per year with a people-first programmatic M&A model to challenge the outdated global agency holding industry. Dude, you're doing some big things, my man. I'm excited to have you on here.
I'm excited to be here.
Let's roll,
And besides, if you want to talk about mistakes, I think I got a record on that one.
Yeah? I love it, man. So what's like your initial take on, I'm going to come onto a podcast and share mistakes? Like, how did that land for you?
When I talk and give speeches, I talk a lot about that, because to me, it's why should other people have to go through the same mistakes that you make? So part of our mission is to make things easier for other people and have impact. So with the mistakes that I made and sharing them can help other people, all in.
So good, man. Love that. Guys, we're going to have Tom spill his biggest mistakes on this episode. My goal is to get something out of him that he hasn't said on a podcast before. That's always my goal. I'm like, what can I get out of him that he could share? Because I know he came to bring it, guys. And all we ask for you guys listening right now, because this is going to be so good, guys, $2 billion, right? Like Tom has been around. He's done big things. And he's done multiple things, right? He's not just like a one-hit flash in the pan entrepreneur. He's done multiple things. So all I need for you guys to do is at the end of this episode is to leave a review with the biggest takeaway that you got. Because I read those. Kayla and I read those. We want to hear from you guys. We want to see what you guys have to say. So, all right, man, you want to dig in?
Let's do it.
You want to dig in? Okay, we're ready. So obviously you're feeling good about sharing your mistakes because you're like, I talk about this, I speak on this. So let's just come out of the gate with a big one. Like, what do you feel like is the biggest business mistake that you've made?
It's interesting because there are mistakes that you learn from that aren't great stories. They're just foundations. And then there are those that are painful.
I think I'm going to go for the painful one on this one.
Well, I'll probably go for the biggest one second. It's not a good story, but it's really powerful lessons.
Yeah.
So you go in, you're consulting with a business, and you want them, they say, how do I increase my profit this year by 25 to 50%? What do you tell them? What's the easiest 3 things they can do?
How do I increase profit 25 to 50%? I mean, you could say, well, we need to get more customers, increase the value of your customers, and get the customers buying more frequently.
Right. So my foundation is always, and it depends on your margins, but ballpark.
Put me on the spot there, man. I'm sweating.
You're close. Ballpark figures is, first of all, raise your prices.
Yeah.
5 to 10%. Number 2, increase your conversion rate 5 or 10%, and then get more to them to buy more by 5 or 10%, and your bottom line will increase by 35 to 50%. Okay. So those are the fundamentals. I know this. And at Atlantic Coast Brands, one of the things that we did is we had some.
So what's Atlantic Coast Brands? Just backstory.
Okay. Atlantic Coast Brands is a company. It was it was my second real scaling business I did. My first was Web 1.0, 1999. It was an omni-channel business, and that was a Shipley catalog. It was online business, plus it was 1 million catalogs we used to mail out every month.
Catalogs in the mail.
Catalog, I know that.
I love it.
And it was in the days, I don't know if you remember.
Dude, you're an OG.
It was like J. Peterman was out, and just Frontgate was still, earlier phase. There was just amazing catalogs back then. And then we were 14 pages in the Sky Mall magazine, which I don't even know if you remember the Sky Mall magazine, the airline magazine, where people used to buy from on the airplanes.
I know what you're talking about.
You never saw them.
I think I've seen one.
Okay.
When did they discontinue them?
Probably 5-10 years ago. Somewhere like
I've
that.
seen one. I've seen one.
Okay.
It has been
so
recent.
Again, so that was a thing. So it was significant back then. It was a great channel. But we did full page ads in magazines. So it was a great, fun business. Sold that business off to lesson one. I'll come back to. Remind me about that. Sold it off to a group out of New Jersey. Spent a few years consulting, and then I decided to take my playbook and launch the next business in an industry where we were told you will never succeed. You cannot. 2005. You cannot use direct response marketing to build iconic beauty brands. Cannot be done. It is direct response is looked at as very low end. I know that. And I said, I love when people underestimate me. Okay.
Tell me what I can't do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Especially when I know that unique economics. If I can afford to spend more money than you because consumers are paying for my marketing, then I will create impressions. And with delivering on my brand promise and great marketing, I will create iconic brands. And so people laughed at us as these 2 former special forces guys in Richmond, Virginia, started this business. And the first year was painful. We went all in. I mean, when I say all in, I mean not only mortgage, credit cards. Also, when we're totally out of cash, I couldn't feed my family. I actually found out that I could get loans against my 2 cars that I owned. And so again, we were scrappy as hell.
So this was Atlantic Coast Brands.
Atlantic Coast Brands. So $300,000 in revenue. This is 2005.
Okay.
2005. $300,000 on our first brand that we incubated. I had a great lab develop it, but we had neighborhood meetings with neighbors about testing the product and things like this. Hydroxytone. 2 years later, we did $125 million with that brand. That's the first brand we did over $1 billion with.
In the first 2 years?
Within the first 2.5 years, we did $125 million. First year was $300,000.
Selling out of a magazine.
Now that was the first business, to Shipley, which was online.
Got it.
But the second business was we started with online and print, full page ads in USA Today and Parade Magazine, things like that. And then we expanded to radio, short form radio. Then we expanded to, it was always online, short form TV. We kept on adding channels, one channel at a time, get that to work, get that plate spinning, optimize it, create the next one. as we kept on creating new and always new creatives and building the team out. And back then, 2005, it's not like now where everything is on demand. You can get bandwidth on demand. You can get platforms on demand. Back then, there was nothing. So we had a tech team building out our technology, building out our CRM because it didn't exist back then.
Right.
To do what we want to do, which was
you've got like a server room in a closet.
We did. Overheated. We had fans blowing in. Oh my God, it was silly at that time.
Cat 5 wiring everywhere.
Oh my God. And we had we were. It's like even getting T1s into our call center, and we were like, it took 45 days to 60 days to get T1s in, so you can handle the capacity for the inbound calls to customer service. It was crazy, and therefore our systems was bombing out. From like when you go that fast of growth, we couldn't hire enough programmers. We couldn't hire enough people. We couldn't hire enough customer service people. If you breathe, we would bring you in. So it was just
do you have a pulse? You have a felony? Come on in.
It was an ugly, it was an ugly. People think it's great to grow like that, but that level of volume. And back then, it was because we were building everything. And people were used to talking to people. So we always outsourced inbound sales because that was easy with call centers. It could handle that volatility, but customer service, we had hubris and ego that we said no one could do it as well as we could. Like I said, there was a lot of ego and hubris.
Is that the mistake at the core? Is it the customer service, or like what's the mistake coming out of that?
So
we talked about a lot of increased prices, right?
So there's a lot of mistakes. Let me go to towards the very end. We had 3 bad things that happened to us in one period of time. One was where our manufacturer, the sole manufacturer of our continuity product, went bankrupt. $500 million manufacturer went bankrupt.
Wow.
That was the big one.
And you had no backup.
No, there wasn't, because there was only one FDA-approved supplier in the world that had the ANDA for this.
Right.
It would take 18 months to do it, and we said probably based on the $1 million of cost, why would we do that? We should do it. Let's do that. Let's talk. We just never pulled the trigger on it.
So you just basically lost your supply chain.
Yes.
Like you lost the ability to produce the product.
And what happens when you can't ship for 90 days to continuity customers that are getting the product monthly or bi-monthly?
They cancel.
Yep.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I'm not getting my stuff.
Then if you're good, you might be able to get back 10% of them. At this point, we're making between $600,000 to $700,000 of profit a month. This was after we received 3 offers to buy the business between $55 to $75 million. This happens, and we start losing customers. At the same time, 2 different ideas. One, we had an online promotion that was doing really well in the email channels. So we said, let's test it out for Black Friday, and it drove down our advertising costs by about 70% because it was promotion. It was a discount promotion. So we thought we understood the lifetime value of these customers, and so we got.
You took a little bit of the sweet
of the crack, yes.
You took a little bit of the sweet discount money,
and what you're doing is you're predicting the lifetime value,
right?
You have a handle if you're shipping out every 60 days. What the lifetime value is within 60 days. Your first next auto ship rate, you really have it between 90 and 120 days. And Facebook customers were such low value that we lost the bet. We were actually losing money every customer versus making money.
Because you were acquiring discount customers.
But we were trying to make up from the shortfall because within 90 days, we got stock back in. We got up and running. We got things out of bankruptcy. We're trying to make money. We're trying to figure out how do we get that pool of customers back.
Right.
So again,
let me stop for a second. I want to unpack that.
Go on.
Because I know you have a third thing. So the first thing, guys, is that you lost your only manufacturer, and there kind of wasn't a contingency plan because it was the only one you could go to. But the unthinkable happened. The $500 million manufacturer goes out of business. See, and this is like, I tell people about operational risk, right? Like if you're an entrepreneur, you don't realize how much operational risk that you carry in your company, because something like that can happen. You have no control, you have no warning, and you almost couldn't even do anything about it. In hindsight, you probably could have. But
we could have made the investment when we've been talking about that for a couple of years.
You had been.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So my head of operation had been doing research on what would it take. We talked to attorneys. What would it take for us to get our own?
Yeah.
What would happen? How would we benefit from a long time? But it was such a big investment and long period of time.
And you're like, oh, they're never going to go under. Like we don't need to do that.
It's a low risk.
It's a low risk.
Low risk.
See, and that's the thing. Hey, it's low risk. You even investigate it. You went the step further than most people would do and investigate the cost and the time and all of that. And so that operational risk is huge, right? So, and then the second thing that you said was so big, because I want people to get this, is that they were using LTV models, right? So spend $50 to acquire a customer, get back $200 over the lifetime, and it's profitable, right? And this, this isn't your numbers, but this is just an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, the LTV was not as high as you thought it was because you were discounting and you were attracting a different type of customer. Is that what happened?
Yes. And again,
and so I want to unpack.
Channels are different.
Right.
Email, again, the hit was probably about 15% in lifetime value there.
Mm-hmm.
The hit in Facebook was 40%. So we said, let's
all channels are not equal.
That's exactly it. And the impact of discounts are not. Now, typically we were a very thoughtful, patient company. We test, we wait before we roll. We always get the read on lifetime value before we roll. However, here is we thought we might have a chance to recover one of the 3 letters of intent to buy the company. Mm-hmm. We were desperate that we were losing so many customers so fast, and we needed to figure out a way to recover them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we basically, and we said, we have a year of data on email. How much risk is there? So we threw caution to the wind and we rolled this out again. Sometimes it's by greed, sometimes it's by feeling of desperation that you'd make decisions that you don't normally do. And especially when it's about numbers, patience wins.
Mm-hmm. You guys, what I love about Tom is that, dude, you have the numbers down, right? And Kayla and I, we talk a lot about the path of math, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you have to have predictable revenue, consistent acquisition. And I mean, at that volume, I mean, what were you guys doing in your biggest months?
Well, that year we were doing about 80 million a year.
Okay. So 80 million a year. I don't care if you're 80 million a year or you're $800,000 a year. Like, if you don't understand the simple math of acquisition and lifetime value and your cash in between those 2 points, like, you can't scale a business. No. And you know that. And so what I think is so interesting about the lesson is the component of discounts, right? Because discounts, it's like that hit of adrenaline that you get.
Correct.
It's like drugs.
Yeah,
it's like sticking a needle in your arm, getting this artificial hit, but then later on you wake up and you're like, where am I? Right? Because what you do is you create a lower value customer, you attract discount buyers, you lower LTVs, you discount the value of your product in the marketplace. And it's tough to get off of that. It's like a cycle. We had a stint with discount pricing that I can definitely relate. Wow. So what was the third?
And by the way, I'll just throw in here as far as it's an interesting strategy I learned from a friend's business that I was an advisor at. And what is the offset to it is it's something that we used when we came back, and it's a great comeback story after that. But it's how you can keep promotions live. First of all, for every holiday, and there's typically 1 to 2 holidays a month, you can run a new promotion and call it that holiday. You can switch out your value-added gifts. You can package it different. And then what we found is that, you know how long St. Patty's Day promotion runs?
A week? 2 weeks?
Till it stopped working. And sometimes it was 3 or 4 months.
I love that.
We had a bunch of promotions running, and they kept on running until they stopped working.
So repackage.
So basically a little of the different value, but always different title of promotions for different holidays. It's a reason to buy and a reason to get this great value, because we were always running a value. Good. It wasn't massive discount.
Yes.
It was just always consistent prices with adding and changing the value to it. So again, that's how we got it.
You guys, that was,
fixed it.
I hope you guys caught that. That was a golden nugget just raining down. So instead of doing discounts all the time, you do promotions based on holidays, and you just repackage the value of, hey, we put XYZ extra thing in here or this, and then you put it a different color, you make the promotions a different color, and now you've got something new, right, for people to buy, and it gives them a reason. That's so good,
and
Tom.
People are looking for reasons, and therefore Facebook can, and example, we were in the hair business, so it was hair awareness, National Hair Awareness Month, but we found that we could keep on running that promotion. It lasted for almost 9 months before it started wearing down. So if we're giving value to the customers, he or she is happy. So we kept them going. Yeah.
Give them
and
a reason to buy and
we
be
were being
even more
honest
happy
about it, and that's it.
So good.
So the third thing that happened was that there was this discussion internally about, and this is so massive, there was an internal discussion about most of our revenue and profit came from direct response, and because Amazon was writing for almost free from all the direct response media from Amazon. The third was our retail business. Again, we had great retail partners from Ulta, CVS, Costco. We just had great retail partners across the board. But the retailers were always saying that the problem is you guys were too premium of a price. If you just drop your prices by 30%, we know we can double your volume. Our sales reps were beating us up every day. So there was this internal argument of, and retail sexy, if we want to sell the business, we'll get more value from it.
Yeah.
So we had this internal debate, and it's something that I said no to for a couple of years. And finally, when we were desperate, I finally gave in to my partner on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is that in direct response, let's just talk about one-way doors versus two-way doors. Two-way door is you can go out and you come back in. One-way door is you're out, that's it. And it's either extremely painful or sometimes is you're basically risking your business.
Yeah, you can't come back.
So changing your prices at retail, dropping them is very close to a one-way door. Because once you drop your prices at retail, you went back to retail and said, we're going to raise our prices back up again. We're not talking about a promotion. We're talking permanent. So retailers will fight you tooth and nail for that because you're suddenly raising the prices to their customers and you're not treating their customers fairly. Yeah. So it's something that they almost refuse to do. It's very difficult to get your prices back up. So
so interesting because in direct response, it's the opposite. Like you can raise your price whenever you want.
Well, that's
and then
exactly
everyone who bought before is happy, and especially with subscription, and you're like, oh, you're grandfathered in. But in retail, it's a one-way door.
And then the logic was, well, we run constant promotions at retail. So all we're doing is giving the customers what they're asking for, where they buy the most. But then what happens is now suddenly they don't know, they have the new perceived floor price for you. They don't remember your old price. Right. So they have it. So in order to get that juice, you're going to have to run some promotions. So in general, so we did increase our units by about 20 or 30%, but our break even, I believe, was about 70%. So we lost about $1.5 million of profit from that.
So it was a net negative on the price drop. Like you made less money from the price drop.
Yes, we did.
And the retailers, they're fighting for their dollar. And they know they'll sell more.
No, but it's interesting. They sold more units. At first they were happy.
Yeah.
But ultimately they saw that their revenue dropped slightly, which they were not happy about. Mm-hmm. And they complained a lot about that. But because we have fixed costs with our COGS, we took most of the financial hit.
Yeah.
So, and that was, so I hear a lot of companies saying always about and it's the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
You have to understand what your key channels are, what drives your profit and what your economic engine is. If your business is retail and direct response is supporting it, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If your business is a direct response, e-com, Amazon business, and your retailers is a great incremental channel, and I can't tell you how many companies I see making this mistake.
If you go away and they give all the cards to retail.
If you let the tail wag the dog and you listen to your retailers and make them happy and hurt your Amazon business, it's like I know a lot of people that will fight to get some of the big mass retailers carrying their products. And then mass retailers will run regular discounts. They'll put it online. Again, you can negotiate with the retailers. You could have our product, but you can't put it online. You can negotiate that up in front.
Yeah.
Or they put it online, they can't discount it.
Right.
And they can't bid against you in SEO.
Yep.
What I see more often than not is the minute they start running discounts, what happens to your Amazon buy box, which is...
Guys, if you're in e-commerce right now, this is absolutely massive. Telling the retailers they cannot run SEO against your keywords because they're like bestbuy.com or walmart.com, they're going to outrank you. They've got so much juice, right? And they're going to be up there and people trust them. So you're going to end up cutting your margin and cutting your prices, and it cannibalizes your own sales.
You can't run as much media because your profitability and direct response goes down. Why do you sell to retailers? You sell to retailers because they have a core audience and you want to sell their audience. Tap the audience. When they're running SEO, they're stealing your audience.
They're stealing your audience. That's right.
And hurting your profitability. So
we never went into retail, but we got about 6 months into the process, and before we exited and sold the brand. But like these were all these conversations. I was like, wait a second, right? They want to siphon from you, right? And so it's got to be fair.
Yeah, let them siphon off the brand advertising I'm doing, but not directly from the customers.
Right.
So there's some guidelines and things you can do. But I was talking about Amazon Amazon, everyone sees that when they see a product, right? Mm-hmm. And the person the company that pops up first, not when you say who else is selling this, is who owns that's called the buy box.
Yep.
So when a retailer discounts and they're selling also through Amazon, or basically is because there's a cheaper price out there, Amazon will just take down your buy. You won't have the buy box anymore because you're not the cheapest price, because they found through their searching online that a retailer is that retailing you're selling to is undercutting you. So they'll take you out of the buy box.
Yep. And
then your promotions, your marketing won't work. So again,
minimum price thresholds.
Therefore, don't let the tail wag the dog. Understand the foundation of your business. Build your business and your logic and your profit around your business model. And regardless of if your stakeholders are telling you something, you listen, because you might be missing something.
Yeah.
But don't abandon your business model for that.
So it's almost like a theme, kind of all of these mistakes that you've just been talking about, really wrapping together, is getting away from the core tenets and the convictions and the strategies that made you successful in a time where there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of turbulence. So if you could go back to that point, would you have made those decisions again? Or
let's put it this way. Let's say that something, let me put it this way.
Or did you have to make them, right?
No, let's all go back to this. Is first of all, you want to build an anti-fragile business. And I define an anti-fragile business as 3 really bad things can happen to your business one would take down most businesses, and you can survive it. You might be wounded, you might be bruised. So I'm always thinking in a business is, how do we create redundancy and stability, testing new offers, new channels, new products to create that, and distributions, to always not relying on one thing. So going back,
anti-fragile business. I like it.
So going back to where we started with our manufacturer, okay? We might or may not have been able to prevent that, or we could have probably had a better contingency plan that might have been less risk for us. However, if that happened, we should have stuck with the discipline of we don't have the data, so we cannot run this deep. We can't go with this new promotion, even though it looks like it's a home run for us and it will sustain us and keep us in business. And we felt we were desperate. You're never that desperate. It's never that bad. And the second thing is ask the question, is this a one-way door or two-way door? What is the impact of the business? And run the numbers.
So good.
Run the numbers to say, if we're betting wrong, what does this mean? And can we survive that?
Yeah. Can we come back? Can we walk back through the door if we make this decision? Love that. So good. Tom, what's the biggest mistake that you've made in starting, right? You're at that starting phase. You're like excited about the idea. I think you've done this maybe 3. You're on your 3rd kind of. No?
4 or 5.
4 or 5? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you've done 4 or 5. Some have been massive. Some, you've been successful in your career. Tell me the biggest mistake you've made in that starting phase that someone who's starting right now could really glean from.
Can I talk out of both sides of my mouth?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it depends how fast you're going to grow and scale, and then how fast you can get in steady revenue and how much you can invest into losing. Okay. You have to be very careful. So on the one hand, I like the foundation of the team to be really smart, savvy people that I can trust their decision, or I can fairly quickly train them, that have good core skill sets. And at certain points, you're going to have to hire up in pedigree for different capabilities. But you got to be very careful about not hiring too senior people too early. So sometimes made investments in people where they were too senior and they floundered at startup phases. They just didn't, they were It's out of their league.
Yeah.
They haven't done it for so many years. It's too small. They don't understand the scrappiness. It's too painful for them, and they can't get their value into the business. So even though they have a great credibility and you might be raising money because you want to have their name there, be very, very careful, because they can be significant impediments for you growing in that really scrappy business. And every startup, I don't care how much wind you have at your back and how much resources, you can't get away from your scrappiness.
Love that. I had that experience. I hired an IT VP out of basically a big corporate, like Fortune 500 company. And he came in and it was just like, the sleeves were not rolled up. The elbows had no grease on them. It's like there was no urgency, right? And so that's so good. It's like, it's funny. I had the problem of not hiring people who were talented enough in the beginning. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that issue on the first go. And so maybe on like a subsequent second or third or fourth business, you're like, so you hired pedigree and then they just didn't have the chops to be in that startup phase as a builder.
And then you have to do the painful thing is, even though people took the risk on you and said, okay, I'll join you at this early phase, and they took career risks by going down. But if they're not working out,
you gotta cut the cord.
I mean, I'll give an example now. Is we started this business and we used a fractional CFO especially for launching in our first deal, and he had a very incredible background, and he did such a great job for us and he was smart, senior level, but he rolls up his sleeves. He does models. He can do the job from soup to nuts and nothing's below him. And he's a very practical, scrappy thinker. So we offered him, he came on board, and he's been a phenomenal fit to the company. So you have that. And then you have the other extreme, which is painful for me. But I'm going to say this is, but at the right time, you have to make the investment and hire up to that next level skill. Someone who's been at the top of the mountain, but you want to find people not.
How do you know when it's the right time? How do you know when it's the right time to invest in the team?
Depends on your growth. If you're sitting there at your $1 million in revenue and you have a clear path to get to 10 million. I mean, I'll share this with you is at Alona Coast Brands. What helped us along the way was that we probably have gotten up to 35, 40 million. And we met a guy that had been in the industry as a CMO forever. He was a veteran. He was sharp. He was scrappy. He was just tough. And but with his pedigree, I said, why would he join us? He can get a job at one of the biggest, $200, $300, $500 million company. He decided to come on board with us. But Andy had been through that cycle so many times of small and group companies to 100 million, 200, 500 million. He did it 3 or 4 times. He knew the road. So when he came in, for him, it was just, come on, and he just got shit done.
Yeah.
Because he's been there, he's done that.
Right.
But that's the difference between someone who has the pedigree at the top, but has grown several times small companies to get there. They know the roadmap.
Yeah.
Someone who's just been only at a large corporation.
Yeah. So good. I always say, like, well, who's the next hire, right? It's like once you identify the position, it's like, well, what would be the best fit? Who's the unicorn? It's like, well, someone who just spent the last 3 years or maybe their whole career doing what you're about to do multiple times. Yep. So he came in, he had already done what you were about to do multiple times. Yep. And that's the unicorn, right? Unicorn. In the same industry with the relevant experience, similar size.
We weren't recruiting, we weren't hiring, we weren't searching for him. But when he showed up on our doorstep.
So he just fell in your lap.
He fell in our lap, but basically there are opportunities fall on everyone's lap, right? But there's opportunities all the time.
Totally.
He didn't really come looking for a job.
Yeah.
It was the partner and I looking and just taking advantage of the opportunity. So a lot of times is what most people understand is there's opportunities knocking every single fucking day, but people aren't looking those in opportunities.
Yeah.
They're
not ready for them.
So the biggest mistake that I like to think I have not made, but I'm sure that there's been a mistake along the way.
I haven't heard that answer yet. I love that. The biggest mistake I like to think I have not made,
but that I'm sure that I have. Well, let's talk about the characteristics that kill most companies. ego driven, that drives a lot of things. Ego that I'm on top of the world, I know everything.
The founder, the entrepreneur's ego.
Founder, yes. Next is fear of shame, which drives a lot of us, or a desire for significance, therefore, and net need for significance. So we make ego-driven decisions. So I'm going to say that, of course, I made them. It's not one of my big faults, but I've seen more companies fail for that reason. Therefore, I'm a big believer in show me an entrepreneur that is hungry, passionate, but has humility. I'll back them. A founder entrepreneur that has a massive ego and insecurities, I'll stay away from all day
What's the
long.
shame part? What do you mean by that?
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Okay, when first time I joined Russell Brunson's Inner Circle. Okay, so and let's talk about what shame's all about. I came out for the first Inner Circle meeting out in Boise, and it was just after our bank had called us up, my partner up, and said, "Guys, you went from making $600,000 or $700,000 a month to losing $600,000 a month. We've been watching you trying to turn this thing around for a couple of months now. We believe we can dump the business and we can recover our piece, and that's all we care about. So we're shutting you guys down." This goes from us having 3 offers to buy the business between 55 to 75 to saying we're done. And I came out for my first Inner Circle meeting, and my wife Pam came out there with me, and we're running along the Boise River, where it was one of those cool days, and it was kind of like mist in the air. It was like spitting in our faces, and I said, "Pam, can we talk about this?" And she said, "Let's talk about it." I said, "Can we be totally open?" She said, "Go there." I said, "Can I go dark?" She said, "Go dark." And she said, "So what's going on?" She knew what's going on, but I repeated the whole
Guys,
foundation.
I love Tom's wife, Pam, by the way. She's a ninja, man.
She is a ninja.
She's awesome.
She's Dr. Wendy Rhodes from Billions. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Way. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
so Pam said, "Let's go there." So I share with her what's all the facts. And she said, "Okay, so then if they pull a line, then what happens?" I said, "Then we have about 1,000 people in our ecosystem that will probably lose their jobs." And she said, "Then what?" I said, "Well, including our employees." She said, "And then what?" I said, "Then we'll be, most likely we'll lose, I have some personal guarantees for the next line. So we'll probably lose our cars. We'll lose the house. We probably might owe money to the government." She says, "And then what?" I said, we're in an apartment starting again." She said, "And where we are 5 years from now?" I said, "Probably looking to sell a company for $15 million. She said, "So what are you worried about?" So I went to the Inner Circle meeting.
Don't you love women? It's that simple.
I know.
Come on.
I know. What are you
What are you worried about?
Let it go.
You're losing $600,000 a month, Tom. What are you worried about, man?
So then
this is like exactly what my wife would say to me. What do you mean? What are you worried about? We'll just do it again. No, it's like that. Oh, wow, man. That's so good.
So let's talk about shame. I went to my first Inner Circle meeting where, again, Special Forces, I take care of my problems. I don't let people know what my issues are. Why would I burden them with stories of problems, things like that?
Yeah.
So I went there, and I knew I was the biggest company in the room. So I go in there, and, I can walk in with a little bit of swagger. But do I walk in there and help people that have small business and go be a mentor and spend 2 days and love mentoring people and doing what I love to do? But I went up there and said, "Let me tell you what's going on in my business." And I shared everything in this room. And that's called, there was shame before I shared it. But by being vulnerable, I put it out there. So it's no longer shame. Then after that, and then I got
kind of releases you of it, right?
Oh yeah. That's exactly it.
Sharing it releases it.
Because shame of hiding things is what's killed so many companies.
Yeah.
Because the ego. So,
so I have to say this. I have a client I'm working with, and they're in the health industry, right? And we're working on his business. And he goes, "Brandon, I tell men all the time that they need to get in front of the mirror, like take their clothes off and face the reality of what they look like. And you made me do that in my business, right? I thought of that, and I'm just like, oh, what a picture of facing the facts and the truth." So,
and there's facing the facts to yourself. There's a facing facts in front of other people.
Sure.
And admitting mistakes, things like that. And so then Russell and everyone in the room gave me a lot of just great ideas, some bad, So, but even the bad ideas spurred new ideas. Then I went and picked, by then I'm on a roll. So I called Roland Fraser, I called Ryan Dice, I called Perry Belcher. I said, here's where I am. What would you do? Called just a bunch of people in my network and saying, fuck it. Excuse the expression, but I'm just going to just share and open up. And that's exactly what I did. And I got great advice, went back to my team, said, guys, here's ideas. What do you have? And we put them on the board and we rank stacked everything by highest probability of success, lowest amount of resources, and highest impact. And let's get things that have...
Say those three again.
Let's start with this. High impact. If it's small impact, I don't care why we're spending our time on that.
Love it.
High impact, lowest amount of resources. Doesn't take a lot of time or dollars to implement that idea.
Yeah.
And highest probability of success.
Oh, you guys, I hope you're writing this down.
Those are the three magic things. So I'm the one who does in a spreadsheet numbers on 1 to 10 and then sorts them. Or you can do it visually. Just put... so what I do from visual is under one axis, it's like it's a T-chart. So at a quadrant. So what I'm looking for is the upper right quadrant, which is those are the ideas that have the highest impact and lowest amount of resources. And then by probability of success, I put circles around them, small circles for low probability, anything with a big circle, high probability of success. So I'm looking for those items in the upper right quadrant.
Yep.
High probability of success, low amount of resources, and highest impact. And I'm looking for those. And that's the secret of how I visually go through this with my team so we can sit and go through it together.
Love that. That's so good, Tom. Love that.
And that's what we did. And then we got to work. I had a couple of people who just weren't part of the team, didn't have the faith. They left. Right. We rolled up our sleeves and it was the best 12 months in my business career. The team got to work. They were incredible. They were a beast. But every day we got together, every day checking the status, full redecisions every week about where we're investing our dollars, what we're going to do from an impact perspective. It's always about the data.
Yeah.
Read the data, read the test results. Are we statistically significant? Great. Do we roll it? No. Let's keep it going for one more week. Let's get confirmatory reads on it, and then we can roll.
So you made some mistakes. Things went bad. You sought mentorship. I love that, right? Like you went and paid to be in a room of people to get ideas and to learn when you were losing $600,000 a month.
Yes, and no one else did?
You went and expanded. I love that. I
hired 2 people.
And you hired 2 people.
Where most people say, you're losing money, how can you do it?
Yeah.
I hired a new director of digital marketing and a new head of Amazon. And
love that. The response to the stress and the strain was still, okay, I got to do something different, right? So we all have to come, like we're coming around third base, like we're headed towards home plate. Like, how did this all shake out, right? So you had this huge impact. You were losing $600,000, $700,000 a month. Your bank was going to pull your line. You were going to lose your house. We went in, we got ideas. We started implementing. You said it was the best 12 months in your life. Like, how does the story end?
Most story end? Well, we got the business back to the level of profitability up that we had before, and just the wind at our back. And then eventually we sold to private equity. So
awesome! Wow, that's so good, man. I love that. Are you good to go for 20 or you want to wrap up?
No, we can go for a little longer.
Okay. Sweet.
So I'll
So Tom, just rounding the corner on that incredible story with that company and the trials and coming up. What's the dumbest mistake that you've made in business that you're just like, oh, and it could be simple, it doesn't have to be huge. Like, what comes to mind? Because I've done some dumb stuff. I'm like, yeah, you didn't flick that switch or that setting, and then there goes $1 million bucks, right?
I should be thinking about this. Checking my work or having someone else check my work, because I'm sometimes moving so fast. So like often
having someone check your work.
Often I run my own models. I build my own models out because I'm fast and good at it.
Mm-hmm. Like financial models.
Financial models. Here, let's do this. Let's make this offer.
Excel magic.
Let's make this offer. Let's build this new division out. Whatever it is, let's build this new product stream. And sometimes I'm moving so fast through that I don't have someone check my work or me slowing down to check it. Mm-hmm. And therefore made some mistakes along the way. Bad decisions.
Like an extra zero somewhere it shouldn't be. And you're like, this looks good, but it wasn't?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
Okay.
And therefore, the numbers tell everything. And then you want to train your team how to gut check numbers. Back of the math envelope, just numbers to say, I don't care if it's an Excel spreadsheet. I don't care if it's the most complex computer system in the world. You want to just see, are the numbers reasonable by using round numbers? And it's something that I do a lot.
Yeah.
To say, does this seem reasonable,
Totally.
this, by using round numbers and training your team to do that.
So good.
The biggest challenge I'll say that I have in business, which I'm learning from every time I make a mistake, is partners. Partners are the toughest thing there is. Partners. Yeah. I'm going to say that if you say that my biggest mistakes are those. And here's the
what was the
let me
tough
ask you
one?
this. If there is a horrible marriage, who's to blame?
That's a complicated question.
Stacy, what did Stacy say? Stacy
you're talking to Stacy
Martino.
Yeah.
Stacy Martino.
They say that it only takes one person to save a marriage.
To save marriage, and it's typically not one person whose fault. It's probably
It's
a
two
combination
sides
of
every
both.
story, right?
It might be 60-40, 70-30, doesn't matter, but it's always both sides.
Right.
So in partnership, I can't say that my partners are to blame. I'll have to, I'm a big believer in extreme ownership. But just patterns of what, it's like one of the first partnerships I got into when I started my first consulting business when I left AT&T forever ago. I thought, wow, this would be great. I was working in some engagement, met another guy. We started working together. He had complementary skills nothing that I did. And I started working with him. His values and the way he found he can get leverage with the clients was by not talking great about me and talking big about himself. So it brought his significance, trust level to him. But again, so it was like understanding that values and integrity is everything. My second partnership, and this is big, even Atlanticus Brands, is we weren't meant to be partners. And when we realized that we were 6 months or a year into it, remember in the end, we worked together for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
And within 6 months to a year, we realized that this is we might have really great fundamental skills and there's some magic with us working together. But from business partners, it was toxic. And we knew that. But I felt...
But you stayed together for 18 years?
Every year it was the same thing we have too much to... 6 months, I thought I had too much to lose.
That sounds exhausting.
I had 2 small kids and I was gambling everything. At a year, 2 small kids and gambling everything. So how can I afford to leave this? 2 years, 3 years. And then eventually we got big enough. I tried to buy him out and no amount of money. He wouldn't buy me out and no amount of money that... It was like, I'll pay you this much money for half the business. No. It's too little.
Did that put a lot of stress on just like your desire to get up in the morning and work the business?
No, I'm a beast.
No? You just absorbed it, didn't care?
I absorbed it, though it was the thing that created anxiety. If I said anything, there's things I felt I can control anything in the business. My relationship with him, I couldn't. So that if you say what over 18 years caused anxiety in my life, it was that.
So you're a beast. You work through it. I totally see that. I know that about you, but it's still like it affected.
No, it took so much joy from my life. Yeah. And at times I was with my young kids thinking about our dynamics, our toxic dynamic versus being with my kids.
Totally.
Because it occupied me. Therefore, it wasn't, in hindsight, you could, as Pam says all the time.
Pam.
There's a door, just take it. If it's not working, take it. You'll figure it out. It'll always work out. You have to do what's in your heart and never say we can't afford to do that. We can't take that risk. Because when it comes to your emotional mental health and your quality of life, I remember that there was...
So do you wish that you would have gotten out of it? Like, would you have traded the anxiety and like just the impact it had on your life for like the financial reward of that business?
Probably, yes.
Would you have... So you would give the financial reward of the business up to not have had that strain on your life for that amount of time. 18 years is a long time.
I know that. Yes.
It's like being in a bad marriage,
It's tough
right?
to say, it's like saying,
you said yes.
I know that, but I met, and I understand that. I met incredible people. I got incredible skill sets.
Totally.
I am who I am and where I am today because of that. So regret is a tough thing, but however, But would the Tom Shipley of today tell the Tom Shipley in 2007?
Don't do it.
Go.
Leave.
No.
Is that what you would tell him?
Just go.
Wow.
Go. You'll start again. It'll be fine.
That's a great way to answer
It'll
that.
be
I like
fine.
the way you answer
It'll
that.
be fine. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. So
I love that. All right, let's round the corner here to home base, and we'll take it home. So what's something that you usually don't like to share, but maybe you will with the audience, just to serve them today?
I shared probably more than I shared. By the way, I shared more than I ever have today.
Really?
I never talk about my partner because I don't want to ever
Sure.
make anyone feel negative or bad, and that's why I said it's could have gone both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think from a lessons learned of what people can learn from, it's among the most powerful and important. Because what I decided over the last 3-4 years,
if you're in a partnership that you don't feel like it's serving you, it's taking joy out of your life, just get out. That's the lesson.
Go all in to see. First of all, take responsibility. That's all you.
Right.
Go and do everything you can to fix it. But if you can't, it's just not meant to be. Then find do a very respectful exit out, even if you walk away and give someone the keys. It doesn't matter because you have confidence in yourself.
So good. Love that, man. What's an embarrassing moment in your life? It could be a funny story.
Okay. By the way, if you say embarrassing moments, you you'll have my daughters laughing because that's just me. So.
We're talking about some thick, heavy things today. We got to end on.
I know. I
don't know. Like my dad put a helmet on me when I was a little kid, and people were like, "Hey, is everything okay with Brandon?" He was just trying to protect my head from my older brother, right? Like that's an embarrassing moment. Like what comes to mind?
Right now, my kids know that I'm light. I'm humble in many ways, and I don't take life as seriously as I did coming out of Special Forces. But coming out of Special Forces, starting my first business, Thursday nights I never slept. I didn't sleep in the Army while I was sleeping in my first business. So I was like hardcore, and everything just very serious from that perspective. So I remember the first opportunity, I had this great management team in place and had 100 employees. We went to, there was some event and the press was there, and I speaking to a group of people. There were probably 150 people in the audience and press and taking pictures. And I was there in this this is again, Web 1.0, this semi.com company that was exploding in sales and being written up everywhere. And I got to speak. And it was a hot summer day in Orlando, Florida. And even though we were inside, I was like just so thirsty. And there was this great big glass of ice in front of me, ice water in front of me. Mm-hmm. So as I'm talking, I'm speaking, I'm drinking it. And I think it's going well. And then what happens when there's barely any water left in the glass and you're still thirsty? Suddenly all the ice comes and just on me, on my body.
Like while you're speaking?
While I'm speaking, on the it hit the microphone. All the ice hits the microphone. And then Pam raises her arm and says, "My husband," because that's classic me. That's classic me.
There's something like good old self-deprecation,
and that's exactly
just to keep us humble over here.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Oh man, Tom, that was so good. You shared so much. I mean, I'm like, I got to go back and listen to that again. Like, there's some major nuggets. That was epic, man. Huge, guys. If you're listening, you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment, leave us a review. Tell me what your biggest takeaway was from Tom today, because I know for me there's a few. There's some golden nuggets that were falling. Tom, anything else that's on your mind that you want to share with the listeners today?
No, I just appreciate you and Kaylin. You guys are the best, period. I feel joy and gift that it's a gift that you're in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, man. We feel the same about you guys. I love that. Where can people connect with you, or how can we support what you're doing in business?
Well, in general, been a little slow because I've been focused on my startup now, but I typically like to publish on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn just thoughts about life and thoughts about business. So
just find it, just Tom Shipley, basically.
Yep.
Shipley.
That's
Love it. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being here today.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. That's it. That's all we got for you. Tune in. We'll see you guys. Take care.